So if you don't know, I'm writing a witchy book, and this is an update. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I figured I am working on part 3 now. This would be a good time to check in and let you guys know what's going on with it. So if you don't follow along on the author channel, you might have had vague mentionings here and there. On my author channel, I talk about it every day because I vlog my writing life, and naturally I talk about it more throughout the day. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I am writing a witchcraft book on death. So this is a book that I have wanted to write for so many years. I've tried before. This time I'm actually doing a much better job at it and really accomplishing what I had planned for that book, and really expanded what I thought it could be and what I was capable of writing, to be honest. And I am so stoked with how this book is coming along. So the premise for this book is that it is a practical guide to death as a witch. So this is not a death doula book. This is not a death priestessing book. This is for your average person who is dealing with somebody who's passing away. Because the reality is, most of us are not gonna want to do the death doula thing. That is an extremely difficult, experience to go through, and being a death priestess, while it's important, not everyone's gonna do that. And honestly, all of the books on the topic, that's all it is. And there's not really a lot for the average person. So that's what this book is. And obviously it's going to be catered to American death culture, and it's going to be different around the world. Laws change all the time. Even since I initially had started this project, different options have become legalized in different places in the country. It changes. The death industry is going through massive change. Researching this has been interesting. Did you know that there's an option called terramation? I bet you didn't, because I certainly did not. And that's what it's called. Do you know what it is? It's human composting. Yep, that's legal in 6 states. And recently just got legalized in 1 or 2. It is a very new thing. And a lot of scientists are really on board with it. It's fascinating. Let alone still trying to get aquamation legalized in places. It is legal here. And reading through the news articles is so much fun. It's so great to live here. I want to move. Reading through some of this stuff, you're just oh my god, but why? Why are we like this? There was one news article that, when it comes to death, Utahns are drama queens. And so there was one news article, I think it was honestly from BYU, which is one of our big universities here. Basically, if you're Mormon, you go there. If you're not Mormon, you go to the other one. Typically how that goes. Sometimes you get some little bits here and there that don't follow that rule, but that's the rule of thumb. And so at BYU, talking about aquamation, they were you're just gonna pour grandma down the drain. And you're you are being so dramatic right now. Because what are you doing with grandma? You're hucking her in the ground to rot. Putting her down the drain, not a big deal. And also, the only other option is if we give you the liquid and you also throw a fit. You get real squeamish real fast if you got a bottle of bodily goo that used to be grandma that you can put on your gardens. People ain't gonna love that either. So choose your option, dude. We're either putting grandma down the drain, and it's the DNA is gone at that point, but you're flushed down the drain, or you get handed a bottle of grandma liquid. There's only the 2 options. Or they use it. If it was an aquamation center next to a cemetery, they could use that to fertilize the ground or something. But they don't want to have that conversation at all. They just get hung up on grandma's down the drain, and then when the funeral director's well, we could do they can't deal with it. They get so squeamish, people can't handle death, and it's maybe if that doesn't work for you, you shouldn't have any say in it. If it bothers you, let somebody who's interested, or at least can respect other people's beliefs and options, handle that conversation. On that note, there was a different news article. I think this one was from Deseret News, but they were talking about when aquamation became legalized here. And it was something for 2,000 years, the pagan practice of cremation, the human, or desecration of human remains. And I'm like, you guys are such drama queens. Because, like, really, the pagans are desecrating human remains by having a cremation. Like, it's a choice that people can make. And, like, why are you throwing such a temper tantrum? Because I don't think it was just the pagans. I'm sure there was other religions and cultures around the world, like, that did it. They might not have all been pagan. I'm sure atheists and agnostics have existed throughout time. So, like, they probably had that option too. But, like, instead of just saying that for thousands of years, because it's more than 2,000, that I'm pretty sure cremations have existed, that, you know, cremations have been around, but not that it's the pagan practice of human desecration of the remains. Like, it's just being a drama queen. So, like, that's been fun to read. And also, like, hearing about human composting, like, lawmakers are just like, bro, it's not even religious, it's personal. I'm just, oh, no. Like, it's just so interesting to be researching and reading about this. I'm trying to make this book to be very accessible in both a practical sense and a witchcraft sense. So I've also decided to do 3 tiers of witchery when it comes to, like, the ritual stuff that you'll be doing. Level 1, because again, I if you remember from back when, I didn't know what to call it. So I've come up with level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 is pretty low energy and very low effort, because let's just be honest, when you're grieving, you need low effort for sometimes. And then level 2 is kind of medium, like, you can kind of do some stuff, but you don't want, like, a whole lot. And then 3 is when, for some people, when a death occurs, they need to throw themselves into religion. That's how they're gonna cope with things. That's tier 3 for you. If you want all the witch, all of it, that's that tier for you. And so I've had a few things that I've had to add in to make these a little bit more intense and have some options and stuff. And, like, right now I'm moving into writing the chapter for funeral rites and having the various levels of funeral rites, whether it's, you know, also, like, not too witchy and a little bit more casual, just get her done, it's fine, nobody needs to know, religion's just not in it. And then, like, a little bit, but, like, not, like, if you know, you know, otherwise you don't. And then full witchery. And so, like, I'm very excited with how it's going, and I think some of the information is really important to have, such as, like, picking the day of the week to hold the funeral services, because each day of the week has different magic, and that's about the only thing that you can control when it comes to a death, and, like, picking a funeral day, because, like, ain't no way you're waiting for a specific moon phase or a specific day of the month or anything like that. Like, if you're into numerology and stuff, like, ain't no way we're waiting for that sort of thing. You got days of the week. That's it. No one's gonna hold your, like, loved one's body for a while unless, like, there's a reason. And that reason is usually investigations and stuff, not because you're a witch and you want it done on a certain day. That's just not gonna happen. And I really love how this book is turning out. I think it's gonna be such a good resource for people when they need it. I just finished up the chapter right now, like today, on working on the obituary and, like, how to write an obituary, because honestly, when the time comes, your brain is done. You are so checked out, you can't think anymore. So to have a guideline of, like, oh yeah, I should do that, that's what I'm hoping will be helpful for a lot of people. Let alone, like, I've got the magical associations for, like, picking the flowers to use in the funeral and, you know, stuff like that. Like, if you use, like, I have a bit of information for each type of disposal that's available. So, like, if you do traditional versus a green burial, and, like, the magical associations that you can use in a green burial for, like, the casket, or if you use a shroud, and, like, different stuff like that. Like, there is so much that you could easily, you know, Frankenstein throughout the book to put together. Like, if you did a natural burial but you wanted to use flowers, you could use the flowers from the funeral section to do for the burial. Like, there's a lot that we could include. And so I'm just so excited for this project. I think it's going to be super helpful. I know for myself there is a lot of sections in here that I will personally be using whenever a death happens, and having it in one spot that's easily, like, accessible is going to be very necessary for me. So I am just over the moon excited for this project. My publication time is going to likely be late summer, early autumn for this book. I'm writing it right now. The goal is to have draft 1 done this month, and then hopefully the editing process won't take too long. I do have to call a few places just to just questions that Googling it, you can't find. And I'm like, it's not common. It's not legal here. I can't ask here. But for Terramation, are you there when the box, the container of where your person's gonna be for a few months? Are you in that location when you put them in and the flowers and the stuff and whatever? Or do you do that in a separate room and then the mourners go bye-bye and then they bring in a forklift to move the box where it goes because it's gonna be flippin' heavy. Logistical things. And realistically, I am going to be calling one of, I think there's only 1 or 2 here in Utah that does aquamation, and being for realies, do I get dumped down the drain? I don't care either way. If that's what happens to me when I go, that's how I go. I water cycle, right? But do you have the option? Can you request it? And even if you don't get the liquid back, can you request that it not be going down the drain and be used on plants donated somewhere? I feel local gardens would be we're not letting dead people on our lawn. But I don't know. I feel local cemeteries could easily be fertilizer, fertilizer. Because I've seen it. I've seen it done. They have it in a bag, backpack thing, and they have a little sprayer, and it just sprays nutrient-dense things onto plants that eat it. Full circle, you know? Circle of life thing. But yeah, I know it's a really strange topic, and it's weird to be excited about. I've always been morbidly curious since I can remember. So it only makes sense for me to be yeah, of course I'm gonna write a book on this. And to be honest, there is nothing on this topic like what I'm writing completely. It sounds egotistical. I'm sure there's books for planning deaths. There are teensy bit of books on witchcraft and death. There's no combination of the two. There is no witchcraft things of the logistics stuff of dealing with death. And ain't none of these books talking about all of the stupid steps that you have to do when somebody dies. Are you thinking about finding out their combinations before they die to their safety boxes and stuff? Probably not. I have a checklist of stuff you need to do before they die if you can. And getting your important documents that you are going to need, whoever the executor is, you're gonna need these documents. Finding that ASAP. You know, stuff like that. There's stuff that's outside of my realm. I'm not a lawyer. You might have different needs. And I'm not a hospice nurse. I don't know all of what they do. That's their job. And as somebody who doesn't want to be a death doula and doesn't want to be a death priestess, you probably aren't gonna care either. You're just here to try and deal with it, as every person will have to deal with death. And who do you need to contact? Some people don't know that. There's a lot of stuff that people just might not know, and then adding a witchy element on top of that where it's applicable. And so yeah, I'm very excited for this book. I think it's gonna help a lot of people, and I want it to be in publication so that it can help people as soon as possible. And honestly, this is taking the longest to write, by the way. Every chapter takes hours. Hours. Fiction is an hour and a half per chapter. This is taking 7 to 10 hours a day for 3 chapters. Forever. But I'm so excited about it. So I will keep you guys posted here and there. If you want more daily postings about it, it is on my author channel. So if you want to check that out, you can. I usually share links to it every once in a while on the community tab here. But yeah, if you want to follow along for my writing adventures, it's mostly over there. But I figure my witchy books I'll occasionally talk about here. And this is one that I'm just so passionate about, and I'm so excited to see it actually manifest into reality. So anyways, that is going to be it for this video. I would love to hear how, you are excited about my book. Because, I hope it's going to be helpful. If there's something that you would love to see in this type of book, let me know. I'm trying to cover all of my bases, so let me know what you would like to see in this book. Huge thank you to my patrons. I will have their names here on the screen. If you'd like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like and subscribe. I post every single day, and until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.